Hi there, I'm Nicole Crane, and today for Mindset Monday we are going to be talking about the behavior cycle. So I'm just going to jump right in because this might end up being about a 20-minute lecture. Um, so if you have any questions or comments, please pop those in the comment box, and I'm going to get started. Um, oh, my notes are totally fucked up. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna adjust that tiny bit there. Okay. This is probably one of the most powerful and transformative ideas that I work with. Especially in the Libratory. So this conversation is operating on the premise that you know that the problem isn't that you don't actually have enough time or energy to focus on and work towards your dreams, but the idea that um, piggybacking on what we talked about last week, that when you bump up against your inner resistance, your core resistance, you find yourself in a state where you're not able to be very resourceful. So you're unable to access creativity, the inspiration, and the ideas that allow you to function at your best capacity in that specific area of your life. So you might be curious why it's so important to identify your core resistance. And there are so many belief systems out there that like to focus only on the positive. And the reason why this is different or going against the grain of those systems is, um, well, in my personal opinion, this resistance still exists. So even if you're focusing on the positive and you're doing your affirmations and all these things, this resistance festers under the surface, and subconsciously it sabotages and undermines your progress. So in order to clean out all the funk and all the subconscious infection, and to really have a fresh start, and to have a chance for exponential success, which is really our goal, this is a necessary step. So the reason why we focus on your limiting beliefs and this core resistance, or even just what your beliefs in general are, is because your beliefs create your future. And you might have heard that before in the form of like your past dictates your future, etc. But I'm going to get into some of the science and psychology behind this idea. So, whatever you believe produces the results in your life. And the reason for this is that there's a function of your human mind or your operating system called the behavior cycle. So I'm going to go over a little image of this and give you a summary of the 5 parts of this cycle. And then I'm going to give you an example of how this fits into a real world scenario so it'll make a little more sense. So this cycle starts with your beliefs and whatever it is that you believe. So looking at your core resistance, what you believe about that area of your life. In any given moment, what you believe creates your thoughts. And the thoughts are in alignment with that belief. So you'll perceive or react to the experience in your mind in correlation with the belief that you have about that experience. So then your thoughts produce your feelings. Oh, there we go. I'm just going to put this in front of my face for a second. And feelings are the embodiment of your thoughts. Every time you have a thought, your brain releases a specific electrical pattern which produces and releases chemicals in the body, and you experience that thought as a feeling. Oh. Then if you look what comes next in the cycle, feelings produce an action. And sometimes that action can show up like indecision or freezing or inaction, but, oh man, this is, okay, there we go. So the feeling dictates the quality of the actions that you take. And then your actions create your results. So if you think of your actions as the cause of, your actions are the cause and the results are the effect. So this is our little behavior cycle. So what's fascinating about this cycle is when you step back and you actually observe your results, they are going to reinforce your initial beliefs. So it really is like a full circle of a cycle. So I'll give you an example. Like all growing up, I learned from my relatives that men never stick around and they can't be trusted. So when I got to a point in my relationships where I was supposed to commit or extend more trust, I couldn't do it, and I would find a reason to either back up or run away altogether. So after a lot of discovery and mindset shifting around men, their intentions, the way that they operate, and the signals that healthy men and unhealthy men show trustworthiness and emotional availability, I saw both that I'd been missing signals from healthy men all along, but I also saw that I'd been attracting unhealthy men due to my beliefs. So, and my beliefs, my thoughts, and my actions. So as soon as I started giving men the opportunity to be noble and trustworthy for me, I started having a different experience of being taken care of, shown respect, and building trust with the men in my life. So these beliefs dictate the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we act, and the results that we produce in any area of our life, whether it's business, whether it's personal relationships, whether it's money. It applies to everything. So this cybernetic loop isn't actually a problem, it's just how we function as normal people. So any area of our life where we're thriving, it's because we have an empowering set of beliefs around what we're doing, which lead to empowering thoughts, which lead to empowering feelings, empowering actions, empowering results, which reinforce our empowering beliefs, right? So all of this produces a positive outcome of what we want in our life. But the areas in our life where we have core resistance, the reason why we feel frozen, confused, or shut down is because we're caught in this behavior cycle and trapped by our own beliefs. So when we don't understand what beliefs are, or we don't know where they come from, how could we possibly expect to shift and change them? So in order to achieve success in our dreams and goals, we really have to find a way to do that. As we already established, our beliefs shape our destiny, right? So this process dictates the results that we're getting, and they're either going to be maximized or minimized by our beliefs around that area of our life. So to get into where beliefs come from, most of our beliefs come from before the age of 5. So to get into the neuroscience of this process, when we're born, we have about 100 billion neurons in our brain. And these are unique in that they conduct electricity. And when we're born, we have about 25 billion synaptic connections, or connections between these neurons. So the entire neuronal network hasn't been formed yet. So what comes pre-programmed? It's the basic functioning programs like sleeping, pooping, breathing, crying, everything that we need in this amazing design of a meat sack that our mother graciously grew for us inside her womb. So our critical survival mechanisms. So from the time we're born until about the age of 5, we go from having 25 billion synaptic connections to having about a quadrillion connections. So what happens during this span in our life? What happens is the brain has built out this entire neuronal network based on the experiences that we have in those first 5 years. So if you think of the brain like a hard drive, it's really quite extraordinary tech. So if you think about the first time you experienced a cat, what happened in your brain is it started collecting data through all 5 senses. So your sight, smell, hearing, touch, and taste are all data collectors. And the brain started recording all of that input in the neurons, which built new connections between them to represent the experience of a cat. And depending on the experience that you had with that first cat, whether it was positive or negative, also assigned meaning to it. So that entire structure becomes a memory. So if you had a fun, friendly experience with a cat, you come to the conclusion that cats are friendly. And that would be your belief around cats. So that gets programmed and embedded into your neurosynaptic structure. So every time that you have a new experience with a cat, the brain searches through the hard drive and asks, what do I know about this new experience? And it finds that a lot of the data matches up with the file for cat. So this must be another cat. So this is where a lot of cute mistakes happen when you're observing a toddler and it like calls a teddy bear a dog or vice versa. So this is a learning process. It takes experiences from the past and applies it to this new experience in the present. And this is actually a critical element to survival. So the brain is designed for survival, not thriving. So in fact, its main focus is just that, surviving, which is honestly very functional. So if you think about having to learn how to turn on the water faucet over and over again every time you see one, that's not very energy efficient. So after you figure it out or are shown the first time, every time you see another faucet, your brain says, this is a water faucet, and this is how you turn it on, and this is how you turn it off. And that's how it functions. So the problem is when you have a limiting experience early on. So something like being scratched or attacked by a cat, then the brain looks at that past experience and it applies that data to the present moment. So even if this new cat might be friendly, the brain actually finds evidence that confirms that that first experience of being scratched or attacked by the cat, and it interprets the sounds and the movements of this new cat as a threat. So you still have another experience of a threatening cat in this situation. Regardless of what data is actually being shown, it's all about the interpretation through the past, right? So the neurosynaptic connections in your brain start to thicken and thicken, getting reinforced each time you think that thought again, and as that original evidence becomes reinforced over and over again, until you live in a reality where all cats are scary and threatening. So this is why when people are afraid of being attacked by a cat, they aren't able to get over it because they keep living that past over and over again in the present. So what's happening in your life is you're living some past that might not even be something that you remember. You're living it over and over again, and it's creating limitation in this specific area of your life where you feel stuck. So what's fascinating about this experience is that the brain is developing an opinion that the cat is scary, or men can't be trusted, or you have to compromise freedom for money. Whatever your limiting beliefs are, you experience that opinion as a thought, which can be experienced as the voice in our head. So this puts us in a limited, unresourceful state. So you're experiencing life through a specific lens. You have these blinders on, and there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, which actually serves as a lens for your brain. And it decides what information gets to come in and what gets filtered out, which is super helpful because for your sanity, there's a constant input of so much information: sights, sounds, smells, memories, different stimulations. And if your brain focused on every single piece of information, it would be really distracting. Like that's where a lot of like atypical, neural atypical people have a really hard time functioning. So for typical people, your brain puts this reticular activation into motion to narrow that lens onto what we find specifically helpful and relevant to our past experiences. And so due to that, this band of what you see is based on what you believe, and you see evidence for what you believe and you filter out that doesn't support it. So in some ways it's super helpful, in other ways it's really damaging, right? So the classic example of this is when you decide to buy a specific model of car, you see that car everywhere. Or like for me, when I decided to change my hair color, I was watching a movie and like literally everyone had shades of auburn in their hair, right? So I was like, oh, I have auburn hair right now. Everyone has auburn hair. It was like really interesting. If I had watched that movie a week before, I don't think that I would have even noticed anyone's hair colors. I would just be paying attention to the plot line, right? So this is super important because if you don't understand how your mind operates, how this system operates, you can never shift or adapt these internal systems and use them for your benefit. So any area where you feel stuck, it's because you're viewing life through our own limiting beliefs and ignoring opportunities and possibilities that actually exists. It's just that our thoughts aren't in alignment with what we want to accomplish, and we're putting ourselves in these negative emotional states, which keep us from seeing these opportunities. So we're not able to be resourceful or creative in that area. And all of this comes back down to outdated thoughts and beliefs. So this is where we can bring awareness to this cybernetic loop, break the cycle, rewire the connections, and create a new set of experiences. So at this point, you can start taking different actions and start perceiving reality differently. You start to become the person that you need to be to produce the results that you want. And you start eliminating these limitations and broadening this lens that you're seeing life through. So I know that it seems really frustrating if your beliefs are being reinforced by your results. Like you generally believe like other people can't be trusted, or money is hard to make, or I can never get out of this job because I can't find anything better. When you're viewing life through this lens, life has no option but to show up for you this way. So in a way, it's really frustrating if you're not able to break out of this cycle, but the amazing truth is that you are 100% responsible for your life and the experiences that you're creating. So this is actually really empowering if you know how it works and you choose to make new decisions. Your brain is a vibrational technology. When you have thoughts, your thoughts actually emit a vibration. So since we live in a vibrational reality, we have things that we chalk up to coincidence or luck or grace of some deity, right? But what really happens is the thoughts and feelings that we're having match the vibration of things out in the world, and those are the things that we notice. So it keeps getting reinforced and reinforced. So the amazing thing is that these coincidences are manufactured by your beliefs. And so when we choose to have a new experience, we react to that new experience, and it starts reinforcing new neuronal pathways, right? So what I would encourage you to do through this next week is when you have an experience, instead of just reacting, I would encourage you to notice your reaction. So it's okay if you have a response, but I just want you to notice what that response is, and then I'd like you to decide if it's an action that benefits your goals or if it detracts from your goals. And I would love to do a little mini workshop on this and guide you through some further steps on how to really break down this cycle and use it for your benefit. We don't really have time to get into that today because this live stream is going a little bit long, but if you have any interest in that, just pop in the comments workshop, and I would be totally happy to take you through the next step of this process specific to this behavior cycle. If not, next week we will have another topic, and for the next 4 weeks I'm going to do Mindset Mondays, and I'm just going to talk about a little bit of the psychology and science behind what I teach you through mindset training in the Libratory. And I am going to pop in a link so that you can schedule a free clarity call where we go over your values and we really clarify what is in alignment for you for your next steps in your life. So we narrow it down to 5 values that are important to you right now, and I find that this really helps define new priorities, because especially when things are shifting so quickly and evolving so quickly in life like they are for everyone in 2020, that sometimes your old goals don't fit any longer, and you don't even realize that, like, subconsciously you're fighting against this because you don't want what you used to want, but consciously you're like, why is this not working out, right? So it's a free 45-minute call where we go over your new priorities and values. Okay, here we go. So this is the link of where to book one, and I have pretty limited availability these days, so if you're also limited in your time that you're available, please book these as soon as possible. And if you have any questions about the Libratory or about the free values sessions or anything that I talked about today, please leave it in the comments, and I will get back to you in the comments, or I'll send you a private message. So sending you lots of love, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time for Mindset Monday. Mwah! Bye!